told me that the fire marshal or the guy came and he said that it wasn't connected, that they weren't being monitored. And so then she said, so I was like, so you guys are on fire watch? She was like, yeah. So like, as a matter of fact, go outside and write down the front on the windows you walk in, and she says that we're on fire watch. So then when I went out to the front, I took a picture. Yeah, there's a big sign right there that says that they're on fire watch. Well, I mean, I looked at it. I opened it up, and I found the telco lines. The telco lines fall out, and it's popping out of like a box. So I could see where it's going, and it's going towards the old D-mark, the telco D-mark. So I think I know which ones are, which cable's coming from there. I don't know. I think it has to do with the phone number itself, because the phone number, she said that the company, that the fire marshal said the company that used to monitor doesn't monitor it anymore. Now I'm not sure where what those phone numbers are tied to, but if you're gonna use a different number, I think it'll work on the PF. Work mark. Okay, still. It is 237-970-3254. Kings 3, the fire panel, and that's it that I'm seeing right here. Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ignore you guys. I was on the other line. So anyways, this video, what I'm talking about this video is really huge. So what we have right here, okay, this is called a pot in a box. Stand by, hold on. Just Simon, go ahead. Oh, let me put it in my hand. Okay. So, all right, what we have right here is a pot. This is called a pot in a box. Now I'm going to talk while I work. Now, the pot in a box, this is really huge. Now, this is really huge because, so what this is right here, this is called an ATA. Well, it's actually a few things, but its main purpose for this job site is an ATA. Now, what you have right there is you have the fire alarm panel. Then you have right here, okay, this right here to the right. Well, if you're watching to your left, that right there is the elevator. And what happens if something happens, obviously the fire alarm, we know what the fire alarm does. In the elevator, when you get stuck in the elevator, you make a phone, or something happens in the elevator, emergency, there's a phone inside the elevator. You're able to call out. Now, all of these systems are running on your old telephone service. Okay, it's an old your old telephone service. Your old telephone service is called POTS line, and the POTS is plain old telephone service. Believe it or not, that's what it means. Now, those telephone lines are the ones that come outside and they go all the way to central offices. And you're like, what's a central office? So a central office is basically a data center, but it's the old centers. Now, the old central offices were actually hooked up to analog. We're actually hooked up with analog to an analog mainframe. The analog environment was 12 foot, and you had these rolling ladders that are connected to the rack, where you would climb up to 12 feet to do the connections. Now, all of that changed years ago. And how do I know all that changed years ago? Well, because I was one of the main ones changing all that. So I was inside Pacific Bell, the central offices, and I was swapping out all the analog equipment and putting in the new digital equipment and the optical carriers like OC48, the OC76, I believe. So the OCs, the optical carriers, they were replacing the old analog system. Now that was 20 years ago. The internet didn't even exist yet at that time. And you're like, Simon, get to the point. You're rambling again. And so now these old telephone systems, you can't monitor them. All right, there's no way of actually monitoring the phone calls going in and out unless you have a person actually sitting there, an operator, watching all that stuff. Right? Okay. So what the plan is, all right, what's going to happen is on December 25th, Christmas Day, for some reason, odd reason, Christmas Day of 2025, they're going to shut down all the central offices. You're like, oh, that just here? Is that just in California? And you're like, is that just here in California? No, it is not just in California. It is across the entire United States, and across Mexico, and across Canada, and across all of South America, and across all of Africa, and across all Europe, all across Asia, all across Australia and Oceania. They're going to shut down the old telephone system because what's going to replace everything everywhere in every place that there's a connection with internet. You're like, that's a good thing, right, Simon? Like, no, it's not. See, what we have right now happening is the beginning of a really large socialist order that's coming towards us. I've been explaining this for a really long time. You guys should have been paying attention. So what's going to happen is, now they'll be able to monitor everything. So once it went to on December 25th, 2025, the New World Order really begins. All right, that's the real date. And what's going to happen is they're going to shut down all this old telephone services, all these old telephone systems, and everything's going to go internet. What I'm doing right now is already moving forward with that plan. What I'm going to do right here is disconnect all the telephone services. Okay, you have the fire alarm, you have the elevator, you have the fax machine, and the burglar alarm. All of those are going to be crossed over onto this Amphenol 66 block. This is called an Amphenol 66 block. So the telephone lines will land here. They'll come out from here, and they'll come through this Amphenol cable, okay? And they'll land up here, and these are designated. So they'll land into this box, the pots in a box. All of these lines go in. And what we have right here is we have eight potential analog lines that can be converted. Stand by, please. This Simon, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. No, and the panel right here says, Honeywell, all systems normal. There's no alarm, there's no supervisory, there's no trouble. So I don't know, I just thought I should, forward that to you guys. I don't see a trouble on the panel itself. I mean, if there was a supervisory, trouble call, you would see the alarm. You would see the light on the panel. But I'm not seeing that. That's why I thought I should just relay all this information before I even touch the panel. I'm not sure, what's. Yeah, she said that. Okay, she said that they came, and I see the old fire alarm panel and all that. And so they switched companies, they switched the panels, but supposedly the monitoring was not the same company anymore. But yeah, I think the burglar alarm is inside the. Hold on, let me go over there and find out. Okay, I guess if you comes back or not, or we'll check all that out. I'll give you a call back. Okay. All right. Okay. So where was I at? Sorry. There's just going on right now. Okay. So they're gonna shut down. So also what's gonna happen is all the telephone lines come down to this punch block. We punch it down to 66. Comes out the Amphenol. Amphenol comes and it lands in the pots in the box. This pots in the box is wireless, and right now when we power it up, you'll see all the little antennas that I'll put on it. And what that'll do is all the analog lines that are here will come into this little pots in the box. The pots in the box will shoot out the signal on a radio, because wireless is radio. No satellites in space, it's radio. All right, and basically, they'll be able to monitor now all the phone calls. They'll be able to monitor actually the language, the voice. They'll be able to look for keywords such as terrorist, bombing, nuclear, blah blah blah. The globe sucks. Kill the globe. Blow the globe up. Throw the globe in the trash. And that's what's happening. And you're like, oh, but this is happening everywhere. Like, really, everywhere? Yeah, in the United Nations. And I've been explaining this for the longest, that the telecom industry, is owned by the bankers. The international central bankers have owned the telecom system since telegraph. So AT&T stands for American Telegraph and Telephone, because the telegraph was actually ran before telephone. And in the late 1800s, they ran telegraph lines across the ocean. And in 1901, Marconi sent wireless signals across the Atlantic using Nikola Tesla's technology, which was called the 1901 transatlantic wireless transmission. All right. And so these telephone lines have been around since the telegraph, and you're like, well, why would the bankers do? Well, because they took over telegraph so they could transfer money on wires. That's what they call it. Send me a wire. Send me the wire transfer. Duh. So this goes all the way back to when the bankers were actually taking over the United States and turning it into what it is now. So this has been an ongoing plan, a big plan, a generational plan, a plan that spans generations. Like, if the Rothschilds, imagine if I was one of the younger Rothschilds, I'd be like, my grandfather started this and I'm still doing it, and my great-grandchildren will be part of the New World Order. That's what it is. So they're trying to get us to eliminate our own populations. Their populations are not being eliminated in any way or form. Matter of fact, they're taking over this plane of existence with this little plan of theirs. And it all comes through telecom. The brainwashing, the indoctrination, the planning, the plan itself. It's been telecom the whole time. Because bankers transfer electrical signals. Once bankers knew that they could transfer electrical signals and that would be worth money, that was it. Okay? They started this plan. It hasn't stopped. It's still going. And if this ever gets shut down, I know how to turn it back on for us. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing this work. And it's really hot out here. And you Globies, get off your couch. That globe is not a map. It's not real. It's not a model. It's not a workable model. It's a stupid toy that's making you dumb. And this is proof. Do you guys even science, bro?